What if I told you that beneath some of the world's oldest cities, there are tunnels we are not allowed to enter?
Not because they're unstable, not because they're flooded, but because after workers went inside, the entrances were permanently sealed. No press conferences, no official explanations, just concrete, steel doors, and silence. This story begins underground beneath grand 19th century cities, old railway hubs, and forgotten administrative capitals, places where history books insist nothing unusual exists. And yet, maps don't match, blueprints disappear. Workers who entered these tunnels reported things that were never meant to be there. These are the sealed Tartarian tunnels and what forced authorities to close them forever. Before you dismiss this as another internet myth, pause for a moment, because what follows isn't based on rumors alone, but on city records, engineering reports, and eyewitness accounts that quietly contradict official history. Across Europe, Russia, Central Asia, and parts of colonial-era India, construction crews, digging for metros, sewage lines, and electrical systems, repeatedly stumbled upon massive underground passages. These were not narrow drains or escape routes. They were wide, arched corridors built from heavy stone, tall enough for carts to pass through with ease. Strangely, many of these tunnels predated the cities above them. At first, authorities offered simple explanations. Old military infrastructure, abandoned mines, unfinished public works. Reasonable answers until workers began to notice details that didn't belong to any known historical period. Some reported stone walls so smooth they looked Others found metal fixtures embedded deep into masonry, untouched by corrosion despite being supposedly centuries old. And then there were the symbols etched into walls and ceilings unrecognizably, not matching Latin, Persian, or Sanskrit scripts. Still, strange architecture alone wasn't enough to stop construction. What changed everything were the effects people felt inside. Workers described sudden dizziness, intense pressure in their ears, a strange disorientation, as if their sense of direction no longer worked the same way. One engineer reportedly joked that the tunnel felt alive. No one laughed the second time he said it. Deeper inside, teams discovered chambers, perfectly symmetrical rooms branching off the main corridors. These weren't storage areas. They were deliberate spaces, designed with precision. Sound behaved differently there. Even whispers echoed unnaturally, as if the walls themselves were amplifying vibrations. Then came the discovery that ended all exploration. Accounts vary, but the outcome was always the same. Work stopped. Officials arrived, access points were sealed, sometimes overnight. In several cases, when workers returned the next day, the tunnels were already filled with concrete, not collapsed, not blocked by debris, intentionally erased. No photographs were released, no detailed public explanations followed. Only silence, which raises a troubling question. If these tunnels were harmless remnants of old infrastructure, why the urgency to hide them? This is where the Tartarian anomaly enters the picture. Old maps once labeled vast regions of the world as Tartaria, not a single empire, but a catch-all term for territories with advanced urban layouts that didn't fit conventional historical timelines. Cities featuring massive stone architecture, centralized systems, and unexplained underground networks. Some researchers believe the tunnels were not defensive or industrial, but functional parts of a forgotten urban system used for climate regulation, transportation, or even energy conduction, a system that didn't rely on coal, oil, or electricity as we know it today. If that idea sounds extreme, consider this. If evidence surfaced proving that a pre-industrial civilization possessed advanced engineering capabilities, history would need to be rewritten. Entire timelines would collapse. The idea of technological progress would suddenly look far less linear. So instead of rewriting history, you seal the evidence. You archive the reports. You redirect construction projects, and you label everything obsolete. But silence has a weakness. It creates curiosity. Today, satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar are revealing underground patterns beneath major city straight-line networks that shouldn't exist. Depths that don't match known construction methods. Sealed entrances marked only as restricted or forgotten. And here's the part that should make you uneasy. These tunnels are still being discovered, and they're still being sealed, which means the story isn't ancient history, it's ongoing. So the real question isn't whether these Tartarian tunnels existed, it's why, after more than a century, someone still doesn't want us to know what they were truly for. And if something this big can be hidden beneath our feet, what else has been buried with it? If you want to understand what is hidden in plain sight above ground buildings that were officially repurposed, after mysterious damage, watch the next video. Because once you start noticing the patterns, history never looks the same again.